But now I'll rise above you.
Let's go. So, Swazdula, you scrubs and, I don't know, residual oil somethings, silly insults, imagine whatever you want at this point. Welcome to another Rant Radio Show, which does not entail only ranting exclusively, but sometimes that just happens to be the case. Again, with some 10-0 members, in this case, plural is me and Azni, which we'll say a couple words in just a second. And today's special guests are Nashty Prime, Nash Prime, and Yushashu, and Acolyte Synpai, to chat with us a little bit about the most recent update and just generally the latest time span of Warframe. So roughly the last 3 months or so. I think today we're going to start with the special guest introduction. So all of you guys can go ahead and say whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but say hello and introduce yourselves. What do you do? Where can we find your stuff and all that stuff? Let's start maybe at the end with Acolyte Synpai. Go ahead.
Well, I'm honored that you said my name. I feel like hell's about to freeze over, but you know. I primarily stream on Twitch, but I guess that's not my full time since I'm a quality assurance engineer. I used to work at Cartoon Network, so you know I kind of do the whole game design life.
Dope.
Yeah, and then I get to stream on Twitch whenever I'm free and do Warframe critique on YouTube. So you know I scream about how I can't see what I'm about to hit when I use Garuda's 4 without an augment because yes. My blood is boiled.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Nash Prime, maybe?
My name, well, you already said my name. I'm pretty much that guy that just beats up Profit Taker for a living most of my time on Warframe. I don't have any crazy job like how Acolyte Synpai over here working that Cartoon Network. Damn, you out here working with my childhood. But
awesome.
But yeah, you can find me on YouTube. I do a lot of boss rushes and you know, I make some actually I'm the antithesis of you, high form of builds. So yeah, that's about it.
Nice.
It's good to be on the show.
Why, thank you. It's nice to have you guys. I love doing these kind of things. Very, very spontaneous, kind of casual thing. Let's just get into it and have some fun. Very nice. Azni, maybe?
Yeah, hello everyone. Well, those who have who have listened to the previous radio rant, you guys probably know about me, but since everyone was talking about their occupation, I'll just go ahead and say that I'm a female version of Handkill because I sell propane and propane accessories for a living. I also am a driver, a tech support, system administrator, an accountant, and pretty much anything in between. So that's what I do for a living. And in my free time, I am a musician. I make music. Oh yeah, and I do stream sometimes on Twitch. So.
Just sometimes I stream, and so just at the end, I really like that. Very, very elegant. So we have a lot of big brains here today. Let me start maybe just to make some context. How long have all three of you been playing Warframe roughly? Because with Azni, I don't remember, but I'm sure she's told me. And with Nash and Synpai, I have no clue. So what's like your Warframe background?
Let's say I've played a little bit when Excalibur Prime got released.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a little bit after they took down the founders back. I started playing the games.
Damn,
so
that's pretty long.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I've watched this game go from when Stalker used to beat your ass to him getting pooped on. You know?
Yeah.
So I've been here for a while. Sometimes I take breaks here and there, but Warframe's been
Naturally.
my go-to game. It's the movement.
Yeah.
Can't find it
Naturally,
anywhere else.
I
this is
agree.
true.
I've
This is
also
true.
been here for a long time. I feel like the founders packs were still around when I started playing, but that was a whole nother life. Oh my goodness, what has it been, like 7-8 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
I feel old. And I
Super
haven't
long.
really taken breaks ever. I just have been playing since.
Kind of same, honestly. Asni, quick reminder of how long have you been playing?
I kind of feel really the odd one out here because I started playing in July 2019. And when Warframe was released back there in like 8 years ago, I had no idea about this game existence. I was playing Lineage 2 actually at that point. And when you play Lineage 2, you don't really have time for anything else. You don't have time
Yeah.
for life, let alone for a different game. So
That sounds very familiar, yeah. I've heard that somewhere with a different title, but I've heard it. Okay. So now that the viewers know who you guys are, where to find your stuff and what you guys do, and kind of a little bit of context as to who are these people and how dare they have the audacity to think they know what the hell they're talking about, let's maybe get into the nitty gritty. So, Call of the Tempestarii for PC, we're limiting this, well, not limiting, but we have to point out that we're talking about PC related update, was Call of the Tempestarii, which we just got, 5 days ago or whatever, few days ago in any case. And, yeah. What are your thoughts, guys? Just spill the beans. How do you feel? The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever.
So I wasn't exactly like super hyped about it. I saw the everyone busting about the song. Now
Yeah.
I played the quest.
Wait, there was a song?
Yeah, for the first time in years, I've turned on the music. So when I heard the song, I was like, "Oh, so that's what everyone's busting about." But it didn't hook me, or I didn't catch on to the hype like how everyone else was. So
Yeah.
I just kind of like, okay, move along with the story. I couldn't really connect to the main villain. I felt like if they showed my boy my boy Shadow over here busting down wherever they was at, it would have been a lot better, because then I could connect to her and say, okay, well, she done got smacked, right, by Seven God Shadow and Tempestarii, and it would have been a whole lot more impactful. But here she is. She just showed up in a ship and says, I see you, and I'm gonna get revenge. And I didn't really understand that. So the story didn't hit me as much as I thought it would have.
Yeah.
Just because of that fact. So
Understood.
but one thing I did get from it is that my boy Parvos is one vile ass dude. He is one vile. He probably sent them right back in to go get swallowed up by a void storm so he could create some super handy minions. My boy is vile. He is foul.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to more of Parvos.
Yeah, gotcha. Synpai?
I feel, is it me, or like, do villains have more personality than the people we're supposed to, I guess, protect in this world? Like, I feel like I got more from the villain in that than I did in, like, I guess, Plains of Eidolon overall. Maybe not Fortuna. You get a lot more snippets from Fortuna.
Don't let Kanzu hear you say that.
I kind of see your point really with that, TBH. Because now that you mention it, and I kind of thought back, okay, let me think about the good guy side and the bad guy side. It's like, I don't know, we have the perpetual fangirling over Wisp's ass. I guess that's lore. And then we have the cringeworthy Kaylee fandom. And then we have early lunch for Konzu. I think that's about the most memorable 3 points on the good side of things. And all of the villains, I feel, also have a little bit more impact. That's actually kind of interesting. I wonder why that is. Asni?
Well, I, to be honest, don't know why that is, but I do have like some theory crafted on my side as first, why the quest was exactly what we got, and the second thing is why the villains are so well written, while the good guys, which we're supposed to be fighting for, are kind of not quite there even, because we, like, from the very beginning of the game, do we actually know what we are fighting for? Do we actually know who's on our side, who's not on our side? We're kind of there.
8 more
That's
years and
actually-
we'll find out.
Maybe.
That's actually
Maybe.
That's a pretty interesting topic to talk about too, because honestly speaking, I feel like DE could probably have, like, you know how Marvel and DC have like their whole, universe with superheroes and all that kind of stuff. If they were supposed to flesh out the Tenno and have like individual characters of like Tenno who, mains a specific Warframe, and like they're masters of their Warframe and all that kind of stuff, and they had their own set of villains, they could definitely make that a thing. That would be amazing, right?
Yeah,
But-
they could. Potential has always been there.
Yeah.
Always, all the time, and forever. But before we go down that massive rabbit hole, if we even make it down that one, I'd like to jump on something that Asni just mentioned. The first thing being why the theories as to why the Call of the Tempestarii happens to be what it was, because I'll also add into the first question I asked what my answer is. The quest in and of itself, to me, of course, it was well made and like catchy music and blah blah blah. You really can't say that it's bad. I don't think that anyone can honestly say that it's just like a bad quest or poorly written or just looks shit, bad graphics, whatever. I really don't think anybody can say that. But that's a state that Warframe has had for a long time now. A lot of the things that they do, especially sound related, visuals related, has always been amazing. But in terms of story, I'm a little confused. It's incredibly short. To me, this entire update was, at least the playable content part of the update, was 2 things. And this is for PC again, of course. For console players, was a little bit more impactful, obviously. But for PC players, what this was a what's it called again? Not interaction, what's the damn, not integration. Why does the damn word elude me? It's such an easy game term. Interactive. There we go.
Okay, I was like, wait, you said interaction, so I was gonna say interactive, but I was like,
interactive. Sometimes the brain's gonna do funky things. Leave me alone, damn. But anyways, it was an interactive music video, I feel, and the rest was just new Railjack missions that PC players already got a few weeks ago, but now with fissures in them. That's pretty much it. And lore-wise for this quest, I don't really understand who is this lady, why do I need to care, where does she all of a sudden come from, why is she singing while we're fighting. To me, it was, although it was good and catchy and all those things, just that piece of story, the way that it was presented to me as a player among the rest of the story was, I guess, cringy might be the right word that I'm looking for here. I'm not sure. It just felt really out of place and just left me with a, like, why? What is going on? You know?
I have a theory about that. I have a theory. I'm sorry for the interrupt. I have a theory about that. And the reason, like the clue that I got to go into this theory crafting is the song itself. The words, the lyrics. Because if you look at that, you see like sisters, below, blah, blah, blah. And then it's Granum crowns. So I started thinking to myself, like, what was the update initially supposed to be? And we were supposed, at least at some point, to get corpus liches, basically, queen
Right.
pins.
Mm-hmm.
And my theory here is that this update was supposed to be a lot bigger, and this quest was supposed to be sort of a segue to queen pins. And that's why this song exists, and that's why Vala actually means quite a bit, because she comes to Parvis Granum, and Parvis Granum builds this whole team of queen pins, and they come back to us and do their bad things, right?
Yeah.
But due to the situation right now in the world and the human malware and whatnot, corpus liches are not coming, did not come at least with this update. So that's why we have a very short update in terms of content. There isn't really much to play outside of farming Sevagoth, and Sevagoth is really easy to farm because it's like, what, 10%? It's like not 0.1, it's 10%. And you're going to farm him in a week maximum. So that's why we have that and nothing else. So I suppose that corpus liches had been initially like supposed to be there, but then a lot of things happened, stuff that didn't work, and they were postponed as a part of this update, but a little bit later. But that song kind of made me think this. I don't know. I'm theory crafting, no information about that.
From the dev stream, they never mentioned corpus liches as a part of this quest. It was like, I have the image somewhere, but they showed like, all of the Railjack updates and then called the Tempestarii, and then the liches were not on that board.
Well,
I was talking about earlier dev streams, because then the narrative changed like 3 dev streams ago or something like that. But before that, they did talk about liches quite a bit, and they did even show the weapons and so on and so forth. And Call of the Tempestarii was already pretty much talked about, but then something changed, something happened. They probably realized that liches are not going to make it.
Well, I can't. Right. Oh, it's Deadstream 152, and something did change because they had Zephyr Deluxe as a part of Update 30, and it was Update 29 that came out, and the Mirage Deluxe was a part of this update.
Skins, yes, of course. Just what we need.
I mean, whatever puts money in the pot.
Right. When it comes to whatever puts money in the pot, I get that, and you could just leave it at that. I get it, but generally, if we're going to go down this one, to me, it strikes me as strange that DE often seems to do or value more superficial updating and I'll call it content for argument's sake for a second, like for example skins and guns and all that shit. So it often seems like they value these kinds of things more than actual core gameplay. Like I think we spoke about this a little bit in the 10-0 chat. I'm not sure, maybe it was somewhere else too, but the following came up. Oh, it was my stream for sure. I think we can all agree here that Railjack isn't core gameplay. Railjack is a side thing, always has been, and probably, maybe, hopefully, always will be. Doesn't have to be bad or anything. It's fine if you want to go to outer space and shoot things. That's cool for that purpose. It's fine, but it's not core Warframe. And yet, for the past roughly 2 years or so, DE has almost exclusively only done Railjack related stuff. The last thing that I at least remember, and according to the chat that I was having with the live chat on Twitch, it would appear that they agree that over the past 2 years, the only 2 things that were done for core Warframe was the Insmallening thing, and before that, the liches that we got. And that's pretty much the only thing that impacted core Warframe gameplay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, can you guys think of anything?
Helmet?
That's the only thing that comes to my mind. Helminth? Deimos, right.
Yeah.
That definitely does that definitely does do something. But do you guys feel that Helminth improved gameplay, the state of Warframe? Did it do nothing, or did it even deteriorate it?
Balancing nightmare.
For me, honestly speaking, if you're talking about core gameplay for Warframe stopped at the War Within, for me, anyway.
Okay.
So, for me, I do a lot of gameplay stuff. I fight bosses, use them in different ways with different Warframes.
Yeah.
For me, Helminth it's okay. I think it might cause some issues down the line. So, say if DE puts in a difficult boss, like the third Orb Mother, they're trying to introduce her for trials again. Eclipse may be a problem. Roar may be a problem because everyone's just gonna either rock it or just use it to get through the trial if it's a HP heavy and not a mechanic based boss like how we've been getting lately with see, I forgot his name already. That glassmaker guy.
Nihil.
Yeah, and an exploiter orb. If it's HP based, that raid's gonna be done in an instant, or a trial's gonna be done in an instant because the damage is just too absurd, right? If we're talking about core gameplay operators and how they affect how your Warframe moves, from resetting your bullet jump to dragging in enemies, halting enemies, healing your Warframe,
right?
Boosting your damage, even if it's just a little bit. It stopped there for me because anything else is just kind of like a little fluff to your damage or so. I think then what did the Ensmalling had in it already? Could you run that?
They made the game significantly smaller. And I believe that with the first Ensmalling, I think it was the first Ensmalling, what was entailed was basically the full nerf of the entire game because they changed the enemy curve, the armor scaling. They reversed the graph of the armor scaling.
Oh, that's when they made enemies a little bit more squishy, right?
No, I wouldn't say that it's a little bit because the Grenier scaling was really tough. And after the it's like almost like it was fine. They're all exponential, and they made it like fine. Is it gonna ever change? Like 5 hours later, it's still kind of the same.
I feel like only one thing kills you in this game now, and it's just absurd toxin procs.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think anything else, especially now, has a chance to kill you. Like, dear Lord, when we get to Gloom, oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, like I believe 20 level 180 Ambulance did kill me today in Simulacrum. They managed to, yes.
They managed to.
That brings me back to what was mentioned earlier. I think Nash said it is the mechanical things, and they want to do trials, yada yada. I also had a very, very, very long chat on one of my streams about raids. We actually went back and watched my, I don't even know, 4.5-year-old video or something where I break down how the old Law of Retributions actually worked segment for segment. And what was really amazing about going through that, because basically it was, although they were guide videos, I could use those guide videos as a template to explain how the raids were set up. And what was really exciting is that people in the chat, they seemed, at least 95% of them, genuinely excited about that. And we're all like, yes, please, this is what we want. Because the raids back then, they had that mechanical difficulty. The raids didn't give a shit how much damage you did, how many red crits you have or how many Wukongs you main. It doesn't matter. What matters is teamwork, coordination, reading the billboard that tells you what puzzle piece this and this, yada yada, these kinds of things. So it becomes a very much skill-based thing, and that's what I think what Warframe would need for any kind of trials. Now, trend has shown that the Warframe community, at the same time, doesn't like that, aka Nihil boss fight, first thing that happened, he's so hard, when the only thing you have to do is hop every time he swings his swords. That's it.
I guess
that's it.
So for that, in that regard, I think it's just a matter of feedback. DE has a tendency to do a lot of negative feedback loops, i.e., if you want to play Grendel, you have to eat things, otherwise you can't play Grendel. Instead of, hey, Grendel works, but if you eat things, it's better. Like, it's that sort of difference in perspective. So I don't think the Nihil fight would have been as bad if people knew, right? Like, after the fact, but that's like, I guess, the trial by fire. And I guess people have a different expectation, I guess, when playing games of like, all right, well, I'm going in, I'm preparing for this thing. I have an ability that, makes me very hard to kill. And if the game is just like, nah, that doesn't work, you're just like, okay, well, I guess I would have liked a sign to tell me that doesn't work, but I guess I know now. Sure, all right.
But isn't that part of the excitement of difficult content, or of any game, by the way, that you learn by doing? You either learn to adapt in the moment or die.
It depends. It depends on the scenario. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I feel like that whole Nihil boss fight thing, like, people complaining about it, I feel like that's mainly because DE hasn't really implemented something like that before Nihil. You know what I mean? Like, liches
were that exactly.
Liches are the worst bosses.
Except you couldn't really counter it except by guessing.
Liches are the worst thing I've ever encountered in the game. So, like, I can't defend liches at all, which I'm kind of happy that they've taken their time with the Corpus ones. But when liches first released, they have no wind-ups for most of their attack. Their guns automatically lock onto you. I believe if heavier units or bosses have guns, they should have animations for their attack. They should not be locking onto you, right? The same thing with their grab. Even if you tried to dodge it back then, it had this mechanic where it sucked you in. So even if you had rolling guard, you would still get snatched up, and the Kuva Lich would be like, "Hey man, so I see you got invincibility on.
I saw you slide in my DMs.
I don't. Yeah, like I don't care. I'm still going to drape you up, right? And I'm going to kick you down, and then I'm gonna hit you with a radiation or toxic prod. And then I'm gonna ruin your day, right?
Circle back though. That kind of ties into the Nihil fight, like all the same. I recently did like a whole talk about, I guess, everything covering raids from, I guess, content islands to difficulty, and there's like a concept between like difficult versus punishing, and I find like Dark Souls does difficulty well, and Extra Credits did like this video of difficulty versus punishing games. And essentially it revolves around like concrete and like understandable game rules, which, Warframe does not really do often. The game rules are all over the place depending on what you're against. And Nihil and Liches both break those rules because invulnerability to a player means one thing, and then the boss is like, nope.
Yeah.
And then telegraphing and perception, which also Warframe does not do well, but Dark Souls does very well. So it's like that level of difference in game design where it's like, okay, it may be I guess, difficult, but it feels more punishing because you're throwing a rule where a rule didn't exist. Basically, is how it feels. Instead of, okay, well, we're all understanding what the rules are as we go in, you know. I guess raids were a little different because it's more like a puzzle. Like you're going in and you're like, okay, this is a puzzle, but once you figure out raids, it's no longer a thing that you have to be conscious about. You're no longer making any conscious decisions. You go stand on the pad, you take the bomb, you do that, you do this. You get enough people who know how to stand on a pad and CC lock the map. Like there's no more decisions to be made.
That's an interesting point, and that's where there should be a mix of where there's actual combat and then there's puzzles, right? The problem with that raid with Vayhek is that it was pretty much all puzzles. Vayhek, he got pooped on. As soon as that invincibility came off, he was no longer it was no longer a threat. What there was a final boss, guys? No, there wasn't. Right? If there's a build up, right? You enter the raid, there's a puzzle that you have to go through. You have to defend your teammates against waves of enemies while they're going through a bunch of ciphers that they have to get within like a timely fashion, right? And you know, as say if they fail the ciphers, the enemy levels ramp up over time, right? That sort of stuff adds difficulty to the puzzles, right?
Right.
While also having those same mechanics where, you could team up, there's panels, you could stand on them and all that kind of stuff. But then there's bosses in between those, like the mini bosses. Say if the Grustrag 3 weren't just typical shield lancer upgrade, bombard upgrades, or heavy unit upgrades. They was really fleshed out bosses that you had to fight through in the Law of Retribution. Each of those bosses would be different in their own way, how they act, how they react, right? And that's one of the things that you talk about the most. It was like difficulty in the game, right? Difficulty for AI comes down to what they do and how many animations is packed into them, right? If there's certain combos that they can perform and pull off, right, that makes them difficult. It comes down to learning what are those combos and how you can avoid them. And then added in, simple things like, say if a player is low HP, the boss or enemy targets that player first compared to anyone else. That person has first priority, right?
Yeah.
Things like that is how you make things difficult. The problem with bosses in Warframe and the mechanics they have that down pat. Bosses have no animation. And the animations that they do have does no damage, right? Prophet Taker, one of the most telegraphed bosses in the game, which is why I love her. But her turret is fucking ass, right? Because it has no animations to it. It's constantly shooting at you to the point where you have to keep on constantly moving, right? Her
So
Modar,
it's locked onto you, you mean?
it's locked onto you, and there's nothing that you can do to it. Say if Prophet Taker's turret had an animation where it had like a little ball that starts to charge up slowly, and once it gets bigger, it starts releasing a ton of energy bullets that you had to run away from. You can see that, and you could be like, "Oh snap! This attack is coming. I gotta get out the way," right? That alone depends on the effect team, right? I don't know if the art team, animation team is one thing altogether, but if that attack, when it lands on the floor, it does like AoE damage. If you run past another player, right, you have to be mindful of where you're running because that person's going to get damaged, right? That sort of stuff creates difficulty, right? Because if it's in a trial sort of raid setting, you don't want your teammates to die. You don't want them to get downed instantly. So you have to keep in mind of where you're going.
We're still talking about Warframe, right? Because last time I checked, you can solo everything.
Yeah,
you can,
so-
you can
Screw the
you can-
teammates.
yeah, you can. This is that's what I'm saying. Like, shoot, I lost my train of thought.
I genuinely don't
happens,
know
that
how do you
happens.
balance it though, because one, like Jizo was saying, one Warframe's enough. Like the moment you add even one more, it's a different balancing problem. You add two more, it's another balancing problem. You add that last one.
That's very simple.
How do you stop all of them?
You create attacks that punishes the player, either through high damage. Oh, that's the point that I was going to get to. Prophet Taker's Modar, when she shoots that fireball at you, it does absolutely no damage if you have adaptation on, right? None whatsoever. The most it does is knock you over. How you balance a Warframe, right, when it comes to it versus an enemy, is that it's either high damage, but the high damage has to come through a well-telegraphed attack.
But I feel
And
like
if
it
they
doesn't even
get
matter.
if they get hit, there's things that they can do. Reducing a player's health, right? Reducing their power strength, reducing their power duration, reducing their power efficient, or increasing their power efficiency, reducing their armor, right? Reducing the recharge rate on their shields, stopping life steals, reducing healing. There's a lot that they can do. The problem is
that's all just gamecraft and theory.
But
that
you
is
basically have to
gamecraft in theory.
fire bubble to really make a difference.
There's no way that any of these ideas can ever happen or even be considered by DE unless they actually have the will to either rework every boss that already exists, which isn't going to happen and also isn't realistic, or they have a new method, or they want to implement a new method for bosses specifically in the game right now. None of those things are going to happen. I think it's more important, well, not more important, but also important and probably more pressing for the topic of this particular chat here is for more recent things. Sure, bosses would be great, and you could fix every boss in the game with a couple of implementations. I love using shield lancers as an AI example because they're just so blatantly stupid and never change. Doesn't matter if you're playing on Earth or if you're playing on Mott Survival Steel Path, they all behave exactly the same, and so you can kill them and withstand them all exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
So to get back to the whole Tempestarii thingy and the whole recent update kind of thing, I think we went off trail a little bit at the moment of last 2 years has been, or almost mainly, or at least let's put it this way, the last 2 years have been focused mainly on Railjack stuff, which is a side thing. Huh?
I can touch on that.
Go ahead.
How it's only been Railjack stuff? Well, I think Steve blatantly mentioned they have a Railjack update that they're bringing, right? So instead of just scrapping the Railjack update, they're trying to make it work, which I guess I can understand. Like, rather than getting all the work that you already put in toward the future update, you're trying to make the content that players have to go through enjoyable. And so we get a whole bunch of Railjack tweaks. But the thing I think that ties into is the concept of content islands, which personally I don't find to be inherently negative. It's just how they're designed. In Warframe, that tends to be a problem. Like, there was a benefit to doing Railjack, which used to be like Guillaume Point. You had an alternative method to level your equipment that wasn't a Daro. And then they were like, yeah, no, stop doing that. And then we're looking like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go level at a Daro because you took another option away from me.
Yeah, I find that incredibly annoying with DE as well, is that they have this idea for Warframe. So far, so good. Everybody has ideas. They imagine that players should play this idea in a certain way, and then they just implement it regardless of anything that happens, and realize or stand there shocked in awe when we play it a different way because there's no point in playing it the way they do. More recent example that I can give is, and I've heard that this was a troll from the video makers. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I've heard. But example still stands. One of the devs in a recent stream was elated and was really, really excited to report how amazing it was to watch footage of high-level players, that's the rough paraphrasing, high-level pro players play fucking Railjack missions with team coordination with one another. And then it was really cool to see, and this is the quote, to see Railjack being played as intended. And that kind of made me mad, because Railjack, they may have hoped that people would play Railjack in that way and, you know, cosplay Star Trek or whatever. But fact of the matter is, I can jump into my Railjack with any random Warframe alone and defeat all of those missions. I don't need anybody with me, let alone talk to people or coordinate with them. The only reason why I would ever do that is just to play pretend for a couple of minutes, right? So that kind of made me annoyed at that statement, because it's disconnected to what's going on in the actual game and gaming community, you know? If that makes any sense.
For me, Railjack is pooping on basic enemies. You can't make pooping on basic enemies more entertaining, right? I'm sorry. Those enemies are there to get pooped on. I can understand them wanting to improve the experience, but I guess outside of Gion Point, when they originally had it, Railjack had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There was when I went through Railjack, I was grinding for what is it called, Void Hole. Man, that back then it took forever to get until it was like, I guess, tradable, or they made it more accessible. And after I got my Vidar reactor, I stopped playing Railjack.
Yeah.
The new updates haven't done anything for me. For someone who's been playing a while, I still see no reason for me to hop in. I went in, got my nodes done, and then I haven't touched it again, because there's no reason to go back there, which is the main issues that Warframe has. There's no reason for you to go back once you get everything.
Yeah, there's no reason to do a lot of the things. This is true. I'm going to go ahead and just provide a gap for Asni for a second. Asni,
Yeah.
go use this opportunity.
Yes. For what?
I don't know.
The floor is yours now.
Your time is now. No, was there anything that you wanted to add to what was said so far? I don't want to be talking over you here.
I mean, when it comes to the Railjack, I'm actually like one of those people who first doesn't hate Railjack, and second, that actually enjoys Railjack, which is a lot of people.
Same.
Probably a lot of people actually would probably disagree with me right now, but you know what? I play my game, you guys play your own game. So,
Right.
And I find it enjoyable. The thing that I didn't find enjoyable was when Tether was stupid. And I was actually happy to see it nerfed, because whenever I would use my Void Hole build, which is also kind of like on the stupid side if you know how to play it, but whenever I would use my Void Hole build, everyone would just come in and say that I'm doing Railjack run and I need to use the Tether build and I don't know Railjack and all that kind of stuff, which was not really nice. So I was glad to see that they decided to rework the whole thing and add more variety into the builds and so on and so forth. Yes, it is one more form of sync. Yes, that is right. But anyways, so I like Railjack. I like Railjack. However, that said, still, I personally would like to see Railjack indeed offer something absolutely unique that would make players want to play it. Because let's be honest, and let me talk about Void Storms here a little bit, which were added with update 30, called the Tempestarii. And they were promised to be something absolutely unique that would have really good rewards.
Were they?
Those were exact words by, I believe, D. Sheldon during one of the...
Well, I mean, when it comes to Sheldon, you can't believe anything that he says anyways.
I mean,
so
Sheldon thinks
I need to quote an official source here.
It's fine.
So,
But Yeah, continue though.
Yeah,
Reward was supposed to be unique or whatever.
Yes, the reward was supposed to be unique, which is kind of not at this point because you're not getting anything that you can get outside of there apart from Sevagoth parts, and you only need to farm those twice. So there is that. And right now, like if we talk about void storms as an alternative to void fissures, you can spend 1.5 minutes opening a relic, or you can spend 20 minutes opening the same relic.
Yep.
What is going to be your choice?
I mean, you get a flat amount of traces, I guess. Right.
Yeah, it still wouldn't be the 20 minutes.
Right. So, like, I don't get void storms because I ain't coming home from work to crack no relic, dog. That ain't happening. Like, I want something to be super fun and interesting. Cracking relics ain't it.
So I feel like I'm in the same
So-
boat as like I don't hate Railjack by any means. I put a whole lot of time into Railjack. I just may not, I guess, necessarily agree with how Railjack is designed. So I feel like I'm really not a fan of the gunner role. I'm just like, yo, get off my ship. get off my ship. I don't need you on here. Like seriously, if they could probably like eject to Arcwing, honestly, I would feel so much better because it's like pew pew, you're shooting ships and then go kill that cruise ship. Cool. But I think even now, supposedly the forward artillery is supposed to have an alt fire. And I recently said, like, if the forward artillery, like, before we knew about this, but if the forward artillery had a gun, the other two gunner ports would be obsolete because having someone glued to the forward artillery, that, like, the forward artillery is the only place the pilot struggles. The only place. So if they give us that, the gunner role is even further obsolete.
Yeah. Right. So I would agree just to kind of jump into here about myself as well in regards to Railjack. I don't hate Railjack by no means. I think Railjack as a game mode in this game called Warframe is very unnecessary. We didn't need this and nobody really asked for it either. But now that it's here, it's also not horrible. It's much like any other game that gives you options of different characters. You will have your 4, 5, 6 favorites maybe or whatever that you always play, but occasionally you might be like, let me play this oddball here that I haven't touched in a while. That's what Railjack is to me. When I play it, it's not bad, but as you guys said, there's not really any reason to do that other than, well, I'm just kind of in the mood now, right, in terms of reward. Which brings me to something that DE has been talking about a lot, and was one of the things where DE kind of, I guess, claimed to be listening to the community. Community has very often complained that we would like to have Railjack be more integrated with well, the rest of Warframe, rather than be another content island and whatnot. And they said that they kind of heard us and that they would like to try that. And I believe if I have my chronological order of things about right, that this update, so for PC 29 point whatever it was and 30, that these two were supposed to help do that. Now, I remember my disappointment when I first played the first improved new Railjack mission that now has core gameplay in it, and I just figured, so it's a regular defense mission, same tile set, same enemies, same procedure, same everything, just with some Railjack before it and some Railjack after it. And I was like, this isn't... No, that's not it. How do you guys feel about that?
That's a pretty
'Cause
bad
you
tile
guys like
set at
Railjack
that.
too.
That's a pretty bad tile set at that, to be honest. Like the defense tile set that we have there.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, I can see with the Call of Tempestarii, I can see where they're going, right? But as it stands right now, it's not gonna go where people want it to go. I can see the ambition behind it. I can definitely see them creating more interesting game modes.
People who? DE or the players?
DE.
Okay.
So I can see them. I can see them making more interesting game modes, but it's still very, very far off because they, I don't know. It's like every other game mode has just been the same thing for years, right? When I play any other game, via maybe like Mabinogi or Maple Story, when I look at these nodes, I think of them of maps that you travel to get towards the end to like a specific area in a map, right? So take the Vale Proxima, right? That entire place is like say a map, and maybe a relay somewhere is like the town or something like that. At the end of the Vale Proxima, I expect like a party quest with unique mechanics, stuff like that. Warframe doesn't have that.
It is a lot of copy paste.
It's copy and paste. So right now, I was talking to a clanmate of mine. He was saying like, well, I like the new update. It feels like a puzzle piece, right? Added on to the puzzle that is Warframe. But I told him like, how big is the puzzle? Because like I said, Warframe has the mechanic. They got the mission type. They just need to add in the unique experiences of tying all that together. Think of the sorties, but in one mission type where people would want to go ahead and jump in with their clan mates, jump in with people from recruitment chat, and do it for really nice rewards. But the rewards have to be absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so you were saying Railjack before like the slice of core mission, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And in regards to rewards there, I think I feel like game design perspective from that, the only thing you might run into like problematic is players feeling forced to do Railjack. Like if the reward is, I guess, because there are people on the other side of the spectrum that just do not like Railjack. And I mean, I guess you still want to understand that perspective. You can't make everybody happy, obviously, but if you put something like Umbra Forma, for example, even though we don't need it, like some people want it, right? So let's say you put Umbra Forma on this tedious Railjack mission, then players are just like tilted at Railjack because they're forced to go through that to get there.
Here's the thing, though,
that's what
that you have to understand. Tedious missions should always be one in a few. They shouldn't be on like every single node or something. What I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be on like the Saturn or the Earth Proxima. It could only be on the Vale Proxima, and that could be like an end game mission where people have to travel through the nodes to get to, right? If it's one tedious mission and the rewards are worth it, people will play it. You don't even have to worry about the people that's like, ugh, Railjack, I don't want to play Railjack. Because majority of the people, if the rewards are worth it, they will play it regardless. It just depends on if DE makes it entertaining or not and make it fun to do. This is the main reason why Warframe isn't interesting to watch, because if I can do it myself, I don't need to watch you to go ahead and do it. It sucks that Eidolons have been the only thing that people can really get together and do after raids have been pretty much wiped off the planet. Right? If there was activities like that for people to do, say Nightmare Frame or Gaz or Ashy or any of you guys that stream on Twitch, right? Had something that you can do with people, right? And had rewards that were worth it, Railjack would be 100 times better. But because there's nothing like that, Railjack won't improve anytime soon until they do that. Corpus Liches will not do that. Not even a slight. It wouldn't even move the meter. It won't. And that's a fact. It has to hit the trifecta. It has to affect the marketplace for Warframe. It has to hit the recruitment chat, the recruitment chat, and it has to hit personal development for the player, right? If there's no
This
improvement,
sounds like something. This sounds like something that would be geared and better presented to a group of players that you may, I don't know, you may call them the veterans or the elite players or whatever, but the more higher ups that are actually interested in that kind of content, right? I don't think that that would do very much for the general population of Warframe. Like, if you take, because you just mentioned me and stuff that we can do for reward, Warframe cannot fathom what would be rewarding for me. Warframe has nothing rewarding, and the reason why there is nothing that is reward worthy for me is, like you just mentioned, Umbral Forma. Don't need it. I have been killing everything since day one. After I got good, that is. Killing everything since day one after I got good without Umbral Forma. Having an Umbral Forma is not going to help me kill faster. I don't need any arcanes whatsoever, so why bother getting any of them, you know? What I like doing is playing Warframe for the fun of it. And what is fun for me, and I know a lot of people would agree, others have a slightly different opinion, but fun to me is hopping into survival missions with random gear, random loadout, and randoms or clanmates or friends or whatever, and just shooting the shit for as long as we can. You know, it doesn't have to be 8 hours. It could be 40 minutes or an hour or whatever until people are bored, and then we go. And that is by far, or actually that is the only fun truly fun activity that I catch myself going back to in Warframe again and again and again, because it's the most enjoyable thing. Everything else, gameplay-wise, to me, is a more or less tedious, but definitely a chore, just to acquire something. That's all the rest of the game is. And I don't think that it needs to be that way. You know?
yeah.
Asni, have you been peeking, or are you good?
I'm okay. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. just making sure.
Not
making
sleeping yet. It's only 2 a.m. in here.
That's
Not
okay.
a kiddo.
I have no intention of dragging this one out, or allowing this one rather to go 2 hours, because last time I don't know how we got to 2 hours, but goddamn, no need to do that.
Yeah.
Also, I still need to cook, but that's a different story. So back to the thing that we were talking about. I don't know, a few minutes ago was just how Railjack is integrated. Rewards aside, personally, I don't think that DE often understands what players mean or what players want and need. Like, for example, with integrating Railjack with more core gameplay. That the way that they did it was, I don't really know what it was, to be honest. It doesn't really do anything for me.
What is
as a
core?
player.
What is core Warframe to you? I'm curious to know.
Core Warframe is you operating your Warframe on foot, doing the hacky slashy shooty thingy. That's core gameplay. That is what its core is. Everything else around it is fluff. Flappy Zephyr, Conclave, that atrocity, Lenaro, Railjack, all of those things, they're side grades that are nice to have, I guess, except Conclave. But you don't necessarily need to do them ever. And nobody, I would say the main portion of the content is also that. So that's what I would define as core.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
So what they added in the new one that isn't core Warframe?
Well, I mean, okay, so it's a little bit, I guess, it's more over integration. It's not. It does nothing you really get affects the core of the game outside of, I guess, mostly some of the intrinsic gains. Like, you know, some of the intrinsics affect like the some of your Arcwing progression, some of the Necromech progression, etc. But I think players want more of that. So, for example, if you put, I guess, more, like, let's imagine that the tree was revamped, and the more you went into tactical, for example, the less nodes that you had to encounter while you were hacking, for example. or the further that you went down, like it actually gave you access to like a tactical menu in the base game sort of ordeal. That would integrate Railjack to the core of the game, because you go through Railjack, you upgrade your intrinsics, and then you're like, oh, when I'm in the core of the game, this is like better. I get to do more things. I have more variety,
Yeah,
or
that would be-
hacking's easier, or I now
That would be
have
one
this
link for
ability
sure.
to deal more damage.
Allow me to make one quick example with something that we actually have in a game. Necromex was just mentioned, okay? So they released Deimos, and then in Deimos, and only Deimos, you have the Necromex that are only useful for using them in that Necromech Deimos specific dungeon shit that they have there, right? That is a content island. How do you integrate that into the rest of the game or core gameplay? Well, for example, once you have your Necromech built, your own Necromech, you can use them in every mission of the rest of the game. For example, you know, that would be one like example of integrating it more. And when it comes to Railjack, if you want to go super crazy, just to make a clear example, let's say you're out on one of the open worlds and you have this mission that's kicking your ass, and you can call down a Railjack that will then I don't know, fire on the enemies on the ground. Or like it was advertised in the Orb Valis and one of the Tenocons 100 years ago, that you can go straight from the open world up into your Railjack, fly out into outer space, and do something out there that will affect the ground team and go back. That would be integrated into some aspects of the core game, in my mind at least.
Like,
Call a freaking
like for
orbital
me,
strike.
I don't know.
I can see orbital strike Railjack being a thing, but going from open world to space, I think that's gonna take a bit more time.
Are you sure you want an orbital strike? It's not really working for Bobbin that much.
I mean, I mean the damage. I guess no, maybe not. I know it
Screw
won't.
the damage. The
mean,
goal
it
would
won't-
be to have less content islands, because Warframe does have a lot of islands.
The real orbital
A place
strike, not
that
the
you-
demo version of it.
Yeah.
There's a place that you only have to go to get only those exclusive resources, to build only the thing that drops only there and nothing else. And after you've done that, you never go back again.
So
right?
yeah, I
And
agree.
this-
I just want to I guess emphasize that I don't feel content islands are necessarily inherently bad, as long as they
No.
I guess have a purpose. So for example, Sanctuary Onslaught, I bring back
Mhm.
this because like if Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, for example, could just spawn any enemy, and I could get upgrades for Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, where it was like, okay, well, it increases the affinity that you get while you're in there. It decreases how fast like the efficiency decreases, so you can go further. And
Yep.
it gives you a chance to like scan enemies on kill. Well, guess what? I will go there because I don't want to sit there and like have Helios glued to me, or the the Sinoid Heliocore or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like so that I can scan enemies through the game. Like I would rather somewhere easier for me to get all the enemies scanned than run that way.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
that
for
Helios
example.
as just dies, and you have to restart the whole thing just because Sentinels don't live longer
Yeah.
than 1.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. That's
Sorry.
a whole nother. Oh, good.
I feel
That's a
like
whole nother issue there. Yeah.
I feel like Sentinel should be invincible. Not gonna
Agreed.
lie.
Or
I feel-
respawn infinitely after a short cooldown.
Agreed.
Yeah, I feel like they should be invincible or just
Pets
Yeah,
are a little
like-
overdue for a lot of love.
Yeah.
I don't know what the I don't think they intended for people to be playing like, hours or creating enemies that could just obliterate.
I don't
your
think you have to anticipate that. It's more of a, I guess, a progression thing. It's just like, why in the world do beasts get like a percent? That's still weird. Like the beast getting like a percentage of your Warframe's health. So if you don't have a Warframe with health and armor, they're kind of squishy. When it feels like the forma and the progression of the pet should be the pet itself. Like I'm investing in this pet. Why is this pet still dying?
Yeah.
Sort of ordeal.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it shouldn't matter what frame I'm bringing. The pet should progress.
All that stuff is in a weird place. I quote Sheldon from a dev stream last year, in in February, Sheldon was on DevStream with his napkin talking about the pet rework, which entails genetic progression and stuff like that, genetic traits, blah, 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 and pet commands, and just the huge, big pet rework that we've been talking about and discussing and hoping for a long time. His words, quote, is going to be released next month. This was February last year. I don't see anything. What I do see is Deimo's new pets that have some watered down version of what was shown on that particular dev stream, which seems to be the theme, the trend, for a while now. At the very beginning of this whole chat, Asni kind of hinted at it, knowingly or unknowingly, that originally we were supposed to get like the Queen Pins thing. It was supposed to be this huge thing, and that eventually over time degraded or trickled down to being only, well, call it the Tempestarii, what we got now, and which is why it may seem a little bit out of place. It's a theory, it might be true, might be false, but if you think about it, it seems like that may be kind of the trend, that DE goes from big, juicy idea that gets everybody hyped to a percentage, a small percentage of that initial idea that is then sold as the big thing, you know? That's not necessarily bad, but it makes me kind of like wonder what's going on over there behind closed doors, you know? I mean, we know that management department as a whole is kind of lull, right? But like, I mean, I don't know, to me these things seem to be an easy fix if you just sit down and listen for 5 minutes, you know? So I don't really see what the holdup is.
I don't know. I guess it's the same thing that we have to endure. Like, there's a level of autonomy there, right? Like, why are you not playing Warframe? Why are you playing this game? You know, that level of, well, I mean, because I'm a person and I might just want to play this game today. I don't know, okay, right? Like, you may not always make the best choices for your channel, right? Like, us as content creators, we sometimes take risks. We sometimes do things that may not, I guess, be ideal or the most wise, but we do it. we do it. It's that level of autonomy, I feel, especially when you're, I guess, a game designer and working on a team. Sometimes somebody's like, I got this idea. And you're like, all right, well, let's try it. And then it's like, oh, that doesn't really work. But I guess we don't want all your work to go to waste. So let's try to make it work.
But wouldn't it be more efficient and also long-term better for the devs and the players alike if we could work together better? Because for years now, I haven't felt like the two sides are actually working together at all.
I mean, but who would they be working with?
I mean, I concur. Like, yes, I agree. I feel like, because, you know, I'm on the player side, I feel like, you know, yeah, some of these problems in design and etc., like, if you just asked somebody, you probably would have got enough feedback to be like, you know what? On second thought, maybe we don't make Hemorrhage a 15 cost mod that isn't really useful. Maybe we don't make Jugular Spine like this really slow moving spine effect that if you move the enemy, it no longer hits them. You know, those sort of small things. You know, like, hey, I could get this to work.
There has been one thing that's, well, when it comes to like communication and, well, actually paying attention to that communication with the developers of Warframe, there is one thing that I've been literally calling like attention to for quite a while, and that is the intensity of visual effects. That is the intensity of visual effects, the amount of particles. And the absolute inability to do anything with them. You cannot switch them off. You cannot get rid of them. And I've been talking about that because it is an issue to quite a lot of people. And I've talked about it with the chat. I've talked about it with other players that I know. A lot of people don't do Eidolons for that reason, me being one of them. A lot of people, including, well, back to the Call of the Tempestarii thing, a lot of people stay away from Void Storms because the amount of visual effects there is absolutely insane.
Yes.
Absolutely insane. A lot of people come here and, I'm sorry for interrupting, come to me and say, like, knowing that I am photosensitive and knowing that I have a lot of other issues, that can be triggered by these effects. They say like, be
Yeah.
careful with the void storms, be careful with those particular missions, be careful with the flashers. They are pretty bad. A lot of people were coming to me and saying that, hey, we got headaches, this is causing seizures, this is causing problems, and so on and so forth. The amount of people who are actually affected by this is pretty huge. And I always play Warframe on medium to low settings, so I don't get the bling initially. And on top of that, I always set my effects intensity to 10 out of 200. 10 out of 200.
And that's still too much.
It's too much. It's pretty bad. I cannot play it because
That was
I'm
one of the
afraid.
things that I was going to ask if you know about that intensity thing and how that works. Because I don't know what mine is. I turned mine down a little bit too for other reasons. But yeah. Damn, if even the lowest setting isn't enough, like, holy shit.
For me, not. It's not.
Mine's just 200.
Thanks. Bye.
I'm surprised you can't actually just turn it off. That seems odd.
That's what I would like to have, because right now the way I have it set like at 10% out of 200, I do not see Vombalists. I do not see their like ethereal form, like period. I did not see Void Rifts and Loyal Spies. I did not see like certain effects which were never supposed to be effects, which are supposed to be objects, and we're supposed to see them. But if you turn the effects down, you're not gonna see them. So technically, 10 out of 200 is unplayable because you don't see crucial effects in there.
Yeah. So you're saying that's something you've been trying to bring attention to, and just nothing happens or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. I would like to see more inclusivity in this way, because for people like me, and there are a lot of people like me, like migraines, then epilepsy, and different types of that, other seizures, and photosensitivity, like photosensitivitivity can cause headaches, eye strain, and so on and so forth. There's so many issues, health issues, which are making people feel unwell, that are connected to effects that are too bright. And yet, I really hope that the message someday it gets across. It gets across. I really hope.
Compared to all the other
at the
issues,
latest.
we all talked. Compared to the other issues, that's definitely like a slider sort of ordeal. So I would hope that would just be like slapped on the top, because it genuinely feels like, hey, add a 0 to that slider, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, yeah.
Guys, on that note, that kind of gives me a reason to segue into this. I wasn't necessarily going to start this topic as well, but it's fine. It's whatever. We'll see. We'll try to keep it a little bit short. And for the viewers at home who are like, oh my god, why are they talking so much? Why don't you finally shut up and say something conclusive? No, you. It's the only thing I'm going to say to that. But how do you guys feel about the Warframe community? Allow me to elaborate real quick. It's not that vague. It was recently brought to my attention that there are apparently some players out there that feel like, well, the specific phrase that was used was that they feel like liking Warframe is a criminal act. And the reason for it, I talked to this person because I was interested in how did that happen, you know? And their explanation was, well, as a newer player, you find this game, you get excited about it because Warframe is a good game if you're new. And you get excited about it, and then you start doing your research, you start trying to connect with the community, you start trying to find some content creators to watch, you start finding content creators. And in that process of discovering it in your hyped state for the game that you just discovered and are getting into, you start to stumble upon mainly people that are seemingly complaining and bitching and dragging the game down. So much so that these players seem to be deterred from playing it. And I find that a damn shame. And it also makes me kind of shook, because I know probably half of the players or content creators that criticize Warframe. out of all of those that I'm aware of, there's maybe one or two that I would actually classify as just simply shit talking that you shouldn't even watch their garbage anyway, right? And the rest all seem to make valid points, and they're coming from a place of compassion. They want the game to improve. Like I assume all of us here are definitely parts of. I know Asni is, I know I am, and I'm just going to assume that you other two knuckleheads are as well. You just want the game to get better in any way it possibly can. And it made me feel like it put me in a bit of a predicament, because on one hand, I want to encourage players to have fun with Warframe, and I think that I do, but on the other hand, I want the devs to wake the fuck up and stop doing stupid shit that is making the game annoying to play over the years. And I can't do both at the same time. I have to step on someone's sensitive little toes from time to time in order to get the point across, if that makes any sense. So for that general thing, hostility with the community, how content creators criticize the game, and just that general dilemma. How do you guys feel about that? Do you have similar experiences? Have you heard similar things?
Where do you want to start?
Wherever you want.
Okay, well, I for sure have experienced that in my existence. I mean, I guess a lot of people look at me and they're just like, sunshine! And then it's like, I say something like critiquing and they're like, what is this? Who are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, this is all I've done for my genuine entire Warframe existence. If you look at any of my forum posts, all you see is critique. All you see is, well, I really want to play Valkyr or insert frame here, but Lord have mercy if I could have more than one ability. If you could redesign this so it's not a negative feedback loop. That's genuinely most of what I've done. And people still look at it like, well, guess you're just a negative Nancy. You say one thing, and they're like, oh my goodness, all you do is bash the game. And I'm just like, did you hear what I said? Like, what are you talking about?
It's because they themselves already gave up. The players themselves already gave up. You can't convince them at this point, because they just see it as like, Warframe's evolving. That's one thing that Warframe has over other games, and I think that a lot of players know, is that Warframe has the evolution.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still stagnant. I don't know how that is exactly. Like, Warframe has evolved so much, but it's still stagnant to the point where it's just like, where are we going?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going with this?
I feel like it might tie into that like dev player like relationship, because I feel like it may be similar like when you're, I guess, a child with your parents, like that similar relationship. I'm not exactly, but it's like you bring up a problem over and over, right? Like, let's say the photosensitivity, and then let's say it just doesn't happen. 2 years go by, 3 years go by. Eventually, I feel like that level of quote passion, I have to be careful here. I have to quote passion because I feel like I got in trouble last time because, people like to be heathens and go like on Twitter and people are like, Happy Easter. And then they're like, devs, you didn't fix this one problem. And they're just absolute nonsensical children. And it's like, get off of Twitter. Go do something productive. This isn't helping. Like, yeah, I get you have a point, but this is not the place nor time. So I have to put quote passion because there's that thin line between love and hate where I feel like, yeah, some people are just absolute jerks. But then on the other hand, some people think they're, quote, helping. They're like, this is my righteous duty as a vigilante to tell the devs every single problem they're missing at every single second. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. Stop.
Yeah.
I don't know. The community is just DE made their very own brand of furries, I guess.
DE has definitely contributed to the community that we have today, which is mainly a bunch of snowflakes. And no, YouTube algorithm, I do not mean that as a derogatory slur toward anyone. I mean it literally as in the physical object snowflake, being soft and fragile and melting at the slightest increase in heat. There are a lot of people out there that I also feel aren't very smart. I got asked to do a Call of the Tempestarii guide video. Like, what? I get people asking me to make a Excalibur Prime, Excalibur Umbra how-to video when I already have the how-to Excalibur video out there. I have video asking me on the How to Ash video, for example, can you please do a How to Not Be a Shit Ash Prime video? These kinds of things are nonsensical. I don't want to necessarily say that everyone is stupid, but a lot of people don't seem to use their head very often. And I think that that also ties into being able to differentiate a content creator who essentially, with more or less emotion, of course, I'm more on the emotional side where I will curse a little bit, but I never attack anyone directly. Where a content creator says, okay, DE, look, here are your issues. Which one do we want to talk about? Let's start with this one maybe, and point it out and be like, this ain't great because yada yada. Here are some suggestions on how to maybe improve it. Just some seed for thought, I guess, if nothing else. Versus a content creator who gets on their mic and just starts talking a whole bunch of lunatic shit. Still, though, it creates the problem that it seems like as a content creator, you can't win. If you praise the game forever, you're going to get partnered with Warframe, and you're going to have these so-called snowflake people following you, fragile egos following you and whatnot. And the moment you say something that differs from pure praise, you're basically the villain of the universe. And if you say something negative about it, you have a bunch of straight up haters jumping to your channel thinking they understand what you're saying, only to use what you said to enforce their own hateful garbage. And at the same time, going forth and actively trying to deter fresher players, newer players, or still passionate players to stop playing the game. I've seen it so often, conversations going something like, I like Revenant, and then some asshole has to butt in and say, Revenant is trash, don't play him, quit the game. That kind of talk. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Well,
why?
How I see it is that if someone is telling you to do something like that, then I mean that's your fault. You know what I mean? You just play what you want to play. No one can tell you otherwise. You can do anything in the game with every frame. It don't even matter what frame you use.
Exactly.
Me, I have not run into that problem where I've come across the more toxic side of Warframe, but I do see it, right? And a lot of the emotional players like yourself have left the game already. They left the game, but they're still watching the game. You know what I mean? Because a lot of them are just waiting for the game to hit that point where it's like, okay, it's time for me to come back. It's time for me to hop into the game.
That turning point.
Yeah. A lot of Warframe's player base are just people who's just watching.
Yeah.
Right? The rest, I would say so far, is just like loyalists, or they'll never play anything else. Like me, I can't only just play Warframe. Like before I even got on this podcast, I was playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Right? I was playing Call of Duty. I was on Mabinogi, right? I stepped on to Genshin for a little bit to do the dailies, right? I can't just play Warframe because Warframe doesn't provide everything. It provides like the movement, the speed. I love the speed of how I could like bullet jump and just do some crazy, insane stuff, but it does not provide the actual gameplay. It doesn't provide PvP. Warframe's not a PvP game. I don't expect it to be a PvP game for a while, and it doesn't provide the PvE aspect of a game I would expect from Warframe. Right. So I have to find it in other places. Genshin, Mabinogi. I used to play Dragon Nest, right? Back in 2014, 2015 to 17, I used to play Warframe and Dragon Nest heavy. When I took breaks from Dragon Nest, I'll play Warframe to just, run around and slaughter enemies and, just have fun.
Do the hacky slashy, yeah.
Do the hacky slashy, yeah. But when it comes to actual content, like fighting bosses and having teammates and people that you can play with and have fun in PvP, Dragon Nest was that game, right? Some of these people that in the community, they don't have nothing like that. Or either that, or they're just saying they have this, but they just, they're just defending DE's fuckery. Right.
Well, that's why I say "quote unquote" passion, because on so many levels, some people feel like they've reached like that toxic obsession territory, either on the positive or negative side, where it's like, yeah, you're obsessed into, I guess, only the good stuff, or you're obsessed to the point where it's like, all right, well, I guess I can't even say I enjoy playing the game because you're already down my throat. Like, holy, chill out.
It's just like the people how you said that's not really smart, because you have a video up that's practically the same frame, right? All they have to do is just watch that, because it's the same thing. They don't really have to do anything different, right?
In that regard, have you peaked? Do you feel like, I guess, as a content creator, maybe we can go into you don't have to answer it now, but like, have we, like, I guess we're all probably coasting toward that area of, man, haven't I said all this already? Like,
it's not that we have.
Hold on, wait. Before we answer that, let's let Asni add to the same thing right quick. Yeah. I wanna hear this here.
I know why.
Did you translate properly?
Because here's the thing, like, I am a Warframe content creator, and I'm also kind of have the reputation in Twitch of that nice blondie girl that never says a single swear word, and now you're about to hit me like a truck with that question. And
yes. Well played.
Okay, here it comes. I personally think that the situation that we're seeing, that sometimes I do sometimes get a little bit annoyed to the point that I go like, okay, Google, when someone comes to my stream and asks a question that can totally be Googled. And I serve as a replacement for Google. So I do have to say that sometimes it's, it definitely is on the player side, but it sometimes also on the content creator side as well, because there are definitely videos about pretty much everything out there right now on the internet. And it's not like even the content creator kind of side, like not directed at anyone, but talking about the general kind of thing. And people just expect someone to tell them how to do that. And a lot of people come to my streams and ask me about, hey, what is your build for this and that? And yes, of course, I do show the build, and everyone is like expecting me to do that, to to maybe copy that later or anything. And when I say that, I remember there was a person recently who basically just came to my stream and asked me to give them mods. And
Wait, did they have you at gunpoint? What happened? Did they put their little text gun in chat? Hold up, they tried to rob you of mods?
They hit you.
No, they just came in and tried to and said that, hey, I don't have the right mods. I just started playing the game. Can you give them to me?
They pointed that Lex at you. Oh no. Oh no.
And I was really startled as in like what to answer to that because I said some generic shit like, well, Twitch doesn't allow me to give items to viewers because that is going to be viewed as like buying viewers and blah, 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 yada, yada, you know that. And I was like thinking to myself, like, people, how about playing the game? Because the fun in the game is actually in getting those mods because guess Warframe, what Warframe is. It is technically also a looter shooter. It's a farm game. You
It's an
need to
acquisition
play
game,
the
yeah.
damn game to get those mods. That's the kind of the point. It is not an RPG like, say, you know, Deus Ex or Mass Effect, where you're supposed to play through the game to learn the story and the combat part is like whatever. You don't really get all the like, you know, absolutely fancy schmancy stuff to that without which you won't be able to get through the game. But Warframe is about collecting stuff, and you're just coming to me right now and asking me to kill the game for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I could get behind that sentiment
Yeah.
quite a bit too.
I
used-
feel like
And go ahead.
no, go continue.
Yes, and also I remember when like I was trying to build Sevagoth, I intentionally did not watch any videos because I wanted to build it by myself. I wanted to, you know, go through the process of building because this is actually what is still fun in the game. And yeah, the chat was like trying to absolutely deprive me of that fun and telling me like, hey, have you watched the video by Brosheim? Have you watched the video by Nightmare Frame? Have you watched the video by any like insert any other content creator name here? And I was like, guys, please, I want to do this by myself. And coping any other content creator, like what would it be? What would I do? Like, okay, so I watched Brosheim's video and I'm gonna show you a Brosheim build on Aznitrous stream.
It's what, you can't have your own preferences? Weird.
No, it's not allowed. It's like, oh my god, Asni, are you not using rolling guard? Like, you fucking suck. Unsubscribe, unfollow.
That always
that's the
that
shit
also
that I get.
happens. Believe me or not, that also happens. Believe me or not, that also happens.
I know. I didn't pull that example out of thin air, you know.
I remember.
That's exactly what happens.
This is
I'm a
what-
Hildren Andy, as Nightmare Friend calls me, Hildren main. And I remember there was the time when Energy Siphon somehow, like, you know, slipped through the cracks and was still working on Hildren, making her technically absolutely invincible unless she gets hit by a toxin proc, which is
Toxin.
anyways the only
Uh-oh.
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 Uh-oh. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Panic.
oh, no.
Panic.
She disconnected.
Panic.
We were calm.
Let's make like seagulls and
panic,
bunnies
yes.
right
now. And
Here she is.
yeah, and anyone joining in the chat and seeing my build, which is using grow and power, would be like, oh, you don't know how to play Hildren. What kind of Hildren main are you? You're not using Energy Siphon, which is making her invincible, and you're using grow and power.
Yeah.
You don't know shit. I'm like,
You can blame Awblade for that. He's the one who made that video. Oh Lord.
I've literally seen comments under videos such as, let's say, X-Frame Steel Path demonstration, for example, right? And I'm in there killing everything, not dying for 20, 30, 40 minutes, however long, whatever, and I'll find a comment under that video, the build sucks, doesn't work. Like, what? Oh,
It's
God.
because you didn't red crit, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Didn't red crit, your build is bad. Huh,
Yeah,
weird.
particularly in
Shit's still dead,
Warframe.
though.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why it got so like elitist about it when it really just doesn't matter. It's
The
like
thing is, it's not even elitist, it's dumb.
It's
Like, I thought, I'm not even kidding, I thought that for exactly those kinds of comments, and for the guys watching at home, when I say the Warframe community or Warframe players, it sounds very general, and like, I mean everyone. Obviously, I don't. I'm surrounded by a lot of really cool Warframe players, but the majority of Warframe players are kind of dim-witted, not gonna lie, okay? Until recently, I thought that Warframe may have the dumbest players of any game. I was wrong. It's actually Apex Legends that has the dumbest players.
Now, hold on, Jizo.
Yes.
Warframe isn't trying to create players. We all know that Warframe's just trying to create some drones, dog.
Right. Drones,
Right.
exactly.
It's-
Ooga Booga Red Crit is the only way. Ooga Booga use rolling guard or the build sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Jizo, why is Inaros bad? He's not bad. Why is he good then? Like, what's your opinion, man? What do you want from me? Do you want me to give you an answer that you can then use as a template for your opinion? What I don't
No,
understand.
they ask you the question with their answer.
Right.
That's the way I put
Exactly.
the Warframe community. They ask you a question with their answer, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of that. You don't either have the discussion or don't talk to me, man. I'm not here.
Right.
I'm not here to be baited into whatever nonsense you're about.
I mean,
I'll get into that nonsense because I usually destroy everybody.
a lot of that just comes down to the lack of difficulty into the game and the doing the hacky slashy, right? So
I love how that caught on.
so it's what people being drones and not being the most brightest when it comes to Warframe comes down to the content that's released. There's
Probably.
nothing in Warframe that really makes you think and actually use Warframe. Like a lot of people say
Great,
that,
cough, great.
right? A lot of people say, well, Hydroid and Limbo suck. They're not really good,
Lol.
right? But
Hmm.
the thing about that is that there's no content for them.
Hmm.
Right? For me, I see Hydroid as potentially one of the most busted Warframes when it comes to like bossing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's no content for fighting outside of
There's no
Eidolon.
necessity.
There's no necessity, right? You can
Yeah.
say that there's Eidolons, but Eidolons is not too difficult. It's not too difficult, right? Hydralisk may be up there in terms of one of the more well done bosses in the game, but it's still pretty bad, right? Because
it's not difficult. It's just a numbers game, basically. If you have the gear, then you just have to learn when to do what and execute that repeatedly, and that's pretty much it.
And that there's only
I
so
mean-
many ways you can increase your amp damage to increase your speed there. So
Hmm.
yeah,
yeah, but not in terms of like its health and the damage numbers. I'm talking about how it actually fights, from laying
Mhm.
out
Yeah.
AoE zones to having interactable attacks such as its bubble, and when it does its arm slam and it summons down or summons some bubbles that sooner or later explodes and does
Yeah.
magnetic damage.
Oh, it does all that? Cheap. I've been
Yeah,
framing
you can-
through
you can-
everything. I didn't realize.
You can actually shoot those bubbles so they don't hurt your lures. That's what I do for my Eidolon solos with Uneru, right? So it comes down to the content that's actually just released. It's Warframe. They're not trying to create players. Like they're not trying to create any good players. They're not trying to
So
create.
one thing I like to try to avoid is, I guess, speaking for other people.
Mhm.
I think it better to speak from your perspective than, I guess, to necessarily speak in that manner.
Mhm.
Oh, that was it.
What? I thought he was going to continue, but I was just like, yeah, you just.
Oh,
you
I
just
thought
might
that,
wanna-
I thought you were running toward
Oh,
a point.
I mean,
I mean,
I
wait,
can
where's the
continue, but it's
punchline?
like instead
I
of
mean-
saying DE
I
is
mean-
trying, what DE is trying to do or
I
not.
mean,
From our perspective or from
you-
your perspective,
you
what you
think-
perceive DE is
you-
trying to do or not do.
hey, you think Sheldon gonna make me freaking come home from work a long day and sit in some fucking void storms and open relics? No,
I mean,
that's
the trend does definitely suggest that DE
That-
caters toward casuals. casuals are going to be the type of players that praise everything that they do, no matter what it is. Casuals are going to be the type of players that regard skins as content and get excited, like, oh my god, we got a new skin, now I can play Warframe for another 6 months, great! And look more fabulous than the previous 6 months or some shit. I don't know how it works exactly, but it seems like that is what they value more than, actual quality players. I don't know how to describe this group, but kind of like the old Warframe crowd back during the raid days. More of those would, I think, be very healthy for Warframe. Now we have way too many, I guess we could use the word drones now, which isn't a bad thing. They can be there too, but it seems like DE has kind of lost their way a little bit, that they seem to cater only to that demographic specifically, which in long term can't possibly be healthy for the game.
It's true, because like my I try to get my girl to play with me consistently, right? Mm-hmm. She can't do it, man. Like, I play Call of Duty with her, she plays hardcore, and in hardcore, you guns instantly kill you. The moment they touch you, one bullet hits you, you're gone. Right? She's a fast-paced player. Sitting in defense and cracking relics, right? Sitting in mobile defense, and there's barely any enemies coming to you, and there's no hint of danger, is
but there's skill path.
Put me on 10 stacks of cold procs and put me to sleep. I am in cryogenic sleep because it's so boring. This is what I mean by, like, Sheldon is not going to turn me into no damn drone, because that is boring. That is drone me out, put me to sleep. 10 stacks of cold procs, right? I cannot condone that sort of stuff. I can't do it. I can't. No.
I'm insane.
No.
Guys, we have been in here for 1 hour and 40 minutes, considerably longer than I wanted to try to intend, although it's no big deal. I don't mind it being longer. It's totally fine. But I think we should maybe wrap it up. And what I would like to ask for the final thing, like your departing words, along with, of course, all your social media and all that stuff, if you want to, is a message that I would like to leave with the viewers at home regarding the whole toxicity in the game and blah, blah, and whatever negativity there may be. Now, I'll go ahead and go first. To the players at home watching this, and maybe you've struggled with this a little bit yourself, or whatever your background is, take it from me, a content creator who has been making content for this game for a very long time, has 6,000 hours in it and all that shit, right? You should never, ever, ever allow anyone to tell you you're not allowed to play the game, you're not allowed to have fun in the game. You play the game however you want and however you find fun, and for as long as you think it is fun. And when you hear a content creator, like myself, I bitch about the game a lot, yes, but it's always founded in some valid fact or truth or problem or something that has been frustrating players for years, for the most part, and I'm human too. I get tired. I get tired of telling DE, hey, we need a better new player experience. What the fuck am I going to do with a new player experience as a veteran or whatever, right? That's for you guys. I would love to see DE put a new player experience in there where the game is explained properly. For example, these are the kinds of things that I fight for, or try to fight for, and I get a little passionate about it, and I might use some curse words, and I might get a little bit mad sometimes, but don't let that deter you from the game or make you feel like the game is trash. The game isn't trash. It just has a lot of issues. And as long as you have things to acquire, different mods that you don't have yet, Warframes you don't have yet, guns you don't have yet, as long as you have things to acquire, you're going to have a lot of fun with the game. The moment you have everything, that's when the game ends, and that's when you'll be on my side. But before that, just have your fun. That's all I want to say to the viewers at home. Now, you guys go ahead and drop whatever you want.
You want to go first? No one.
Whoever.
I guess I'll go. I say, and just enjoy the game. You know, it's good. Have fun.
Silly game. No.
I don't. I guess watch dev stream. Just see where the game goes. Who knows?
Remind people where can they watch your stuff?
Oh, you can watch me Nash Prime on YouTube. I don't really stream on Twitch. Internet's not all that good. I'm gonna have to upgrade. But I mainly make YouTube videos. But yeah, just enjoy the game. If someone says a Warframe is bad, believe me, Warframes have their different uses, right?
And they're all good.
They're
good enough.
They're good enough. Some can use some tweaks, but they'll get their love eventually. If you like a frame, if you like how it looks, believe me, you could do most of the stuff in Warframe. You just have to find out how, and that's the most fun you get. Trying to figure out how you can make something good is the fun that you have in Warframe. Exactly. So once you do that, just have a go at it. Just have fun. Just do what you like. Don't let anyone else, dictate how you play, because 9 times out of 10, they're probably trash.
Beautiful. Final word. Asdi, then maybe you now.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to, here's like a segue to what Nash has just said. There is also like one more thing, and connecting to what you Jizo said, like when someone just types a comment to your videos, like, okay, this doesn't work, the build is trash, meanwhile the video is literally all about the build working. So right. I just wanted to say that copying something blindly might not work. And here's the reason, because everyone has their own playstyle and their own preferences. Like, for instance, I personally, coming into Warframe, I personally preferred sniper rifles, believe it or not. And Warframe is absolutely not a game for snipers, like, period. Yet, guess what? I do have a sniper build Ivara. Because I want it. And because I don't care if it's, like, not efficient. You can tell me all you want that it's not efficient. I just love playing it like that. And I will continue playing it like that. So, but, and exactly what, as Nash said, this is what the game is all about. You have the tools. The game gives you the tools to build something that you're going to enjoy and have fun with it. And Warframe actually gives you a lot of these tools. Warframe is a highly customizable game where you can customize your character, even like with the helmet system, you can customize the skills on your character, you can customize your weapons. You can choose whatever weapon you want. It doesn't have any limitations based on class or whatever. And the 3 weapons that you want, the melee, sidearm, and the primary.
Right.
Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Experiment with it. Like, if the idea seems stupid to you, then, I mean, why stick to it? Do something that you personally find clever and fun. And maybe, just going to say that because I do believe that recently on the internet there has been too much negativity around just for the sake of negativity. And I understand why, because this whole pandemic has had us locked up, and the anger also kind of like, pent up and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
guys, just be kinder to each other. Like, if you are feeling pissed, then I don't know, go kick a pillow or something. And there's no necessity, and like, it's not necessary for you to just go on the internet and call someone bad words and hear bad words in return. What's gonna be the outcome of that? A positive outcome? None. So yeah, like, if you feel like being negative, then go kill.
Go kill.
Uh-oh. Asdi, you're gone. We can't hear you.
Oh no, it's the worst cliffhanger.
I say Grenier.
Go kill Grenier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's
go fight. Okay, I take those words back. Go kill the infested, because they're the infestation. They're the virus. You're helping the world to fight the virus.
Hey, beautiful.
Yeah,
circle.
but Yeah. So well,
And
that-
where can people watch your stuff and enjoy you live or via video?
I don't do YouTube. I don't do YouTube. I only stream on Twitch, and I don't really have a set schedule. So you can find me on Aznitrous. It's exactly the same name everywhere. Well, other than that, that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. My absolute pleasure. Thank you for being here again, by the way. To the rest of you as well. And Synpai, we didn't forget you. No, it's your turn.
No, not at
Now
all.
for your final message.
Well, I'm Acolyte Synpai. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, Instagram. I don't really stream that much because, I work in the game industry, so that's kind of my life. And I feel like my approach to Warframe has always been the same, and that is, it's not my life. Genuinely,
Right.
I care about the game. I'm passionate about the game, but I give my critique and then I move on. Like if the developers, I guess, want that feedback, or I'm not gonna lose sleep over it, right? Like I don't feel like I'm the messiah or anything. Like I feel like I have things I could contribute, but at the end of the day, take it or leave it. Like I'm here
Right.
if you need me, sort of ordeal, but I don't really get in my own head about that, or I guess a dog with a bone about the scenario. Yeah. I do a lot of Warframe critique, but I feel like it's more just practice and work at that point. So it's like, I spent 4 years ago working on like an entire focus rework. I've done countless
Yikes.
reworks for Warframe. Chief, that post is long. Like it's a read and a half. If you want a good book, you got it.
A lot of stuff.
But anyway,
A lot of
if
stuff,
you want
yeah.
to see somebody do the hacky slashy and turn themselves around, because that's what it's all about, right? You can find me there.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys very much for helping all of us find the time to meet up and chat about some things, generally Warframe and just whatever. It was really funny. I had a good time, and as most of the things that I touch, they tend to take longer than I intend. So thanks for bearing with me and hanging out for a little bit, and hopefully we can do this again in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, you guys have a great evening. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So bye.
It was a
and wrap it up.
Later, y'all.
Ditto. Bye, guys, and bye, people at home watching.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cheers.